Welcome to another team review. This is another maddening team. This team was submitted by the channel member GMO, so thank you GMO for submitting this team. All right, so this team has Jockey, Anna, Alfred, Fagado, Rosado, Fram, Saline, Chloe. So some kind of typical like B to A tier, some S tier units mixed in. Now some units can hit like S tier like performance given the right resources. And it's kind of hard to really place units, honestly, in tiers, because like if you hand any fast unit Erica, they'll probably one round. So it's hard to say. It depends on what your criteria are for evaluation. But all right, so let's talk about Chloe. So this is a Chloe Great Knight who has 35 speed. Now, one huge thing about Great Knight that's nice is it's actually not as slow as General, and it has decent speed cap. So if you're on a fast unit who has a higher speed cap like Chloe, you probably will hit that speed cap on General and Great Knight, but Great Knight has more potential to be fast. Now, General does not get broken, but its speed cap is so low that if you want to double on it, you're going to need like one of the high speed units like Chloe, I think Fagado, and there's a third one that has increased speed cap with Lyn. But with Great Knight, you can get away with just speed +5. Roy also, when engaging, would give her like +3 to 4 speed. So with this level of speed, she'll easily double most things, and then when engaging, she'll probably double like 80% of maps and just not double fast things like Sword Masters, Griffin Knights, Wolf Knights. But for those Wolf Knights, you have Rider's Bane, Griffin Knights you can shoot down, and for Sword Masters, you can scream. All right, but look at this health though. Chloe has very high health growth. She basically gets a point of health every level up on certain classes, and 90 health is an insane amount of health. And look at these defensive stats. 36 defense, 27 res. The javelin +5 seems to be the main weapon, which is very logical. So I don't know that she needs the Celica engraving, but it also might be used for crit avoid. So it might just be used for crit avoid, but she has the build to use a javelin weightlessly. Javelin's only 9 weight. So you do lose 1 point of damage, but she does have quite a bit of strength because she is on Roy. So it almost doesn't even matter. So this is like free crit avoid basically. And the other weapons don't seem to, like, this is probably just used for poking, and this is just used for stabbing. Like, these just seem like they're just here, honestly. This is probably the main thing she uses. But speed +5, gentility plus, it's a 5k SP build, so it's relatively cheap. And then also you can stack gentility plus with allied defense. So this is actually a really good build. This might even be like an S tier build for her, to be honest. Because you get holdout, you get huge health, you get really good defensive stats. This might be like one of the better tanking builds in the game. Chloe can run everything, and there's a lot of things she can run really well. Great Knight Chloe is very logical. It patches her strength, it leverages her speed and her health gain, and it just also gives her a lot of defense and res. So pretty good build. I actually would probably recommend this. I've seen this and Chloe General, and both are quite good. So this is actually a pretty solid build. All right. Okay, Saline. So Saline, she's on utility. Wolf Knight, Sigard, Dagger, Steel Dagger +4 with Byleth engraving, 11 +5. Now the 11 with gentility plus damage, the 11 will be dealing okay damage, but at 15 magic, it's not going to be one rounding. It'll probably be putting enemies at half or a third, maybe a fourth HP, which is still good. It's still relevant. She also is a Hex unit. So you have Canter, Momentum, Hex. Now you could go for Momentum. Maybe Momentum pushes her damage up a bit. She does not have Ignis on this class. One nice thing about Sigard is for her base class, her Ignis trigger is Dex based. So getting that extra Dex, that's +4% more chance to see Ignis. But this seems like, you know, a Wolf Knight debuffer. You poison things, you debuff them. So with a single dagger attack, you apply Draconic Hex with poison, which is nice. It doesn't have, it's not on Lucina, so it can't do it on enemy phase or on other units' turns to like spread poison around, which can be nice. But it has debuff, so it's like a debuff build. It has gentility, so gentility and momentum damage could be enough for Levin Sword to kill. She can also override with the Levin Sword, which is really something that's really good on her main class. But this just looks like a debuff utility, so it looks decent. And also you get Gentle Flower, so if you want a unit to heal itself, you can. Woohoo! All right, Fram Royal Knight. So Royal Knight is basically a Griffin Knight on the ground. Statistically, that's basically what it is. This just seems to be a staff bot. Staff Mastery 5, so she heals for a lot, which is also pretty interesting because when she fortifies, this is actually an interesting combo, especially if you run Fortify. If you Fortify, you're going to be getting huge value out of this Staff Mastery because the AoE heal is going to heal for a lot. But Men's, you'll have Men's should heal to full health. Recovers will easily heal to full health. Your physics are really good. You can use offensive staves like Fracture very well. You can utility remove break with Reforge, and you have Canter. So this is like a staff bot. I actually haven't seen something like this. It's actually pretty interesting to see. Just like a pure dedicated staff bot. Now she could have like a weapon for poke damage, but you don't need it. So this is what, 8 units, an 8-man team. 8-man teams are like the best thing, I would say. Like 6 to 8-man teams, like creating super units just breaks the game and it pretty much allows anything to pop off. But this is pretty interesting to see, actually, just a dedicated staff bot. And of course she can do other Micaiah things, like she can AoE Fracture, she can AoE Silence, Freeze, she can AoE Obstruct. So based on whatever the situation calls for, she can pull out utility staffs. So pretty interesting build, pretty good build. Now she's on Royal Knight for mobility, and she also doesn't have flyer weakness. So this is one of the use cases of Royal Knight. Having flyer weakness means that if an archer shoots you, you get one shot. Whereas on Royal Knight, she has enough bulk and very few weaknesses, just horse weakness, which is very uncommon anyways. She has almost no weakness, but she has the mobility, she has the 6 move, and the Cancer Plus. So she's basically an off tank that can heal and apply utility and debuff enemies and do whatever you need her to do. So this is actually a pretty good build. All right, Rosado. All right, Rosado Bow Knight. The strength is actually pretty good. Rosado does have good strength and speed growth, but starting base strength. It's actually low. It's like Tamara level if you switch them on the same class, I think. And people don't like Tamara for her strength. But speed +5 and build +4, so that's interesting. But it's a Brave Bow build. So that Brave Bow should be one rounding. He also has a Longbow, Tomahawk, Noata, and Killer Bow, Sieglinde, and Erica. The Brave Bow Erica, this actually almost looks like overkill in some ways, because his might is good enough that the Erica probably doesn't need to be on him, but he has her anyways. So he probably could get away with running, because like on Looter Brace Plus, you're dealing so much bonus damage that with this level of strength, you could probably get away with like a Brave Bow +2 to 3, and he would be okay. But I see what they're going for. The build is to use the Brave Bow, so it's like a Brave Bow player phase build. And then you can Longbow poke for crits with accuracy. And also you get the Gentility Lunar Brace damage if you engage. So your Longbow pokes will actually deal pretty huge damage. Tomahawk is probably just here just to have it. And then maybe to enemy phase occasionally if he gets hit. He does have 63 health here and 20s in defense, so he can tank like 2 enemies fairly consistently. Sieglinde is also really good. Sieglinde, you can always pull this out. If you're doubling and you can pull out Sieglinde, you're gonna one-round shit. Like the corrupted, it's corrupted effective, so you can always pull this out and just start killing things with it. That's very cool. So Erica easily, honestly, Erica kind of seems like overkill here, but Roy's on a good use case, and I'm sure Ike is too. Or is Ike even used? Oh shit, he doesn't even have an Ike build. That's interesting. I feel like this could be, well, Ike is less damage fixing, but it gets you tanking. But this isn't an enemy phase build, so this is fine. This is player phase. All right, Fogado and Corin. Let's see, Corin. Okay, Longbow with Might Engraving. His dex is 30, which is decent. So you always want a 3 range on Corin so you can snap freeze. The Dragon Vein on Cav is the water, which can still delay similar to fire. So the water actually isn't bad. I used to think the water was bad, but it's actually pretty good. It's basically like the fire without the damage. It's similar, the pattern's a little bit bigger, it messes up enemy movement, so this is still pretty good. Speed +5, Gentility Plus, this is the boost damage of everything. Levin Sword +5, look at the magic stat. Fogado in this use case is actually able to one round with Levin Sword pretty easily here. With Levin Sword +5, I think that's what, 18 might? Base plus 29 plus the gentility damage. He should be one-rounding a lot of things, or almost one-rounding a lot of things. And he also has debuff, quality time, you know, the typical Corin stuff. Radiant bow +5, so it's a magical build. And he also has silver sword, I'm guessing, to whack enemy mages in case these do not kill. But yeah, this is a pretty solid build. You have flyer removal, Corin freeze at 3 range, you have 1 rounding on Levin or radiant bow situationally, and then you have a silver sword to whack dudes who have high res. So, alright, that's pretty good. Okay, Paladin Alir. Sword agility. So this is an avoid tank Alir. Gentility plus sword agility. Brave sword with Micaiah engraving. So sword agility with this Micaiah engraving. Now this Micaiah engraving also is reducing the weight of the brave sword and giving you a ton of avoid. So this is an avoid tank that can just sit there on the brave sword. And with the gentility popped, you're looking at 20 base damage when quadding. It's 5 armor ignoring damage per hit, like 5 true damage per hit. So this, even if you don't 1 round on this, you're still dealing good damage. Now this is a Lucina build. Now from what I understand, all of these are horses. So the bonded shield is 100% because everything is a horse. So this also doubles as, you could probably go for occasional 1 rounds, and you can rebuild the Lucina faster. So this is actually pretty smart. So you have and the gentility lets you tank a little bit, but you have the dual support plus the sword agility plus the brave sword. Now the sword agility you can only get to 3 before you lose Marth, but when you get them back you can get it to 5. So for most of the game, sword agility 3 plus Micaiah engraving is more than good enough to dodge tank. And then once you get dual support, enemies will not attack you when you're bonded shielding. So this is your main bonded shield unit that can just rebuild Micaiah, maybe go for some kills on weaker enemies, and also boost damage of the things you're bonding. Alright, we have an Anna Mage Knight. Anna Mage Knight's really good. This Anna Mage Knight has Speed Taker. Now Anna on Byleth, you get magic and speed plus, so that helps her double more consistently. With Chaos Style, she's going to be doubling most things at base here. With Speed Taker, she's going to be hitting 46 speed, which will double like most, if not everything in the game, aside from maybe some Griffin Knights and Wolf Knights. But the Sigard engraved Levin sword on Anna is actually a pretty solid weapon. I've used it. I've used this and Bolg on her before. And sword power 5 with this is just absolutely, this completely destroys. And also you make a ton of money because look at her luck right now. She's 38 luck, so a little bit over a third of your kills are going to be giving you 500 gold on this unit, and she's probably the main bonded unit, meaning that when an enemy attacks your bonded formation, she's the one who's primarily killing. So she's going to be generating a ton of gold for your team, which means more weapons, more forges, more tier 4 wells. I think they said they tier 5 well, or no, that's someone else. But you can, one interesting thing with Anna, someone was telling me they kept they were explicitly farming just to see what would happen. Like certain enemies and certain what was it, the clones on chapter 10, and the dude just keeps remaking them. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what someone told me. But you can farm infinite reinforcements on certain chapters with her. So like chapter 22 is an easy example of a map that just has those 3 infinite reinforcements, so you can just keep killing them indefinitely for 999 turns and make a ton of money. But someone was telling me they were actually able to tier 5 well a lot, which does boost up your average SP gained from wells. You can also get notice staff, which is pretty cracked. I think it gives everyone engage as one use. And you can occasionally get stat boosters, but tier 5 welling is you could only do this with Anna consistently if you were to try. There's no other way in the game you could tier 5 well consistently without Anna. So if you set up a high luck Anna and constantly got her kills, you actually could probably drop Speed Taker. 36 speed is enough. It's like a speed tonic, you're at 38 speed, you're doubling most things. You could probably actually get her luck plus 12. Or whatever it is, luck plus 6. So luck plus 6 puts her at 44 luck here. So that would be crazy. And then you can luck tonic her, and it would be worth it because she procs an insane amount. So you would luck tonic her on the maps you're farming, or even just on maps with high enemy density. But yeah, you can easily get this unit to making you an insane amount of gold with the right min-maxing. But this is a standard build. The nice thing about Mage Knight Anna is She has insanely high magic. Well, not insanely high. Compared to the other magical units, she's like +4 to like 6 magic. She shares high magic with Citrine, but she's also fast. And she makes you money, which Citrine does not do. Woohoo! Alfred. All right, Alfred Avenir. So someone was actually recently telling me that Avenir was good. And Lynn on Avenir does fix its speed issue. Now he does have some defense, like he has 34 defense, 20 res. This is actually pretty bulky. His strength is decent, his build is decent, his dex is good now that he's on Lynn. One of the common issues with him is that his dex is bad, or it's just not as good as it could be. So this kind of patches his weaknesses, so Lynn is actually a good use case for him, and he does have decent strength here. Lance Power 5, Gentility Plus. So this is an interesting build because it's doubling down on damage. It's using 2 damage fixing passives. I was actually thinking about how you would run Lynn, because I feel like a lot of modern uses of Lynn, or a lot of builds I've seen, people run like Speed Plus and Lynn to like speed fix like super slow units, but I think her best use case is actually on average or above average units to get them into high speeds, and then you just run whatever the hell you want as your passive. So you could like double down on damage, you could double down on tanking if you have enough strength. So in this case, they're doubling down on damage and also getting Gentility Plus, like squeezing damage out of Gentility Plus and also squeezing tanking out of it. So you get both. So you get plus 15 damage per hit, and then with a Brave Lance, you're one rounding on might just off a lance power anyways, but then the Gentility gives you armor penetration too. So you get huge damage. Like you do 60 damage per hit, and then 5 of that is armor ignoring with a Brave Lance attack. And he has the build. This Brave Lance is a really good weapon. I've run it on other units, but it's pretty good. And then he has Fencelar +4 for just generic doubling, and then he has Javelin +5 for enemy phasing. So this is a pretty solid build. It has good defensive stats, really good strength, and good tanking. Woohoo! Alright, I think that's the team. Yeah, that's the team. So overall, this team has some pretty interesting builds that seem pretty good, actually. Like the Avenir, maybe I rate Avenir too low. Someone was saying that on my one class video, that I rate Avenir too low. This is an obvious use case that Avenir is at least A tier. Possibly even low S, honestly, because like you get everything with this build. You get huge damage, you get consistency, you have the build to use spears, you have good strength, the defensive stats are good. You also get Golden Lotus. Like even though Golden Lotus, it's like a third of the attacks are gonna deal half damage, it's still good enough where the damage reduction matters. So even if it's just a third, if you get hit 3 times, then statistically you're going to have a Golden Lotus trigger on average, which reduces damage and allows him to off tank really well. So maybe Avenir is like a good class, and a lot of people just wrote it off early. So yeah, pretty good team. 8 units. Is that? Yeah, it's 8 units. That's all you really need. I noticed there's no Ike tank, but you really don't. You really don't even need everything. Like you don't have to run every single emblem. You don't have to run more than 8 units. You could even run 5, and the game is easier. Like 5 to 8 units makes the game super easy. So yeah, thank you GMO for submitting this team. If anyone else wants to submit a team, you do have to be a channel member, and I will review it. So yeah, thanks for checking this out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.